West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. This isn't a patron episode, so you can all breathe and relax. Everybody who's like, how long have we got? It's a full episode, people, just for YouTube. And we're back looking at the West Indies women's side. There's been so much cricket in 2026. I've just written an article and dropped it on Caribbean Cricket News, looking at the West Indies under-19 team, because lest we forget, that World Cup only finished a few weeks ago as well. And I wanted to write a piece looking at development from under-19 level and my concerns and worries about under-19. I mean, don't we all have that concern and worry? So I wrote a piece looking at the likes of the Zachary Carters, Vital Laws, Jakeem Pollard, who else was mentioned? Matthew Miller, who actually has just got a scholarship to Bede School in the United Kingdom, Shaquan Bell, Jonathan Van Lang. Not everybody can be a Jewel Andrew. Not everybody gets a fast track straight through into the senior setup and kept kind of in and around the senior setup, right? So I wrote this article just looking at what we're going to do. Because all those names I just mentioned, last time we looked at the women's team, my colleague Gerard Basso, who I'm about to reintroduce, spoke to me and had warned me before the tournament actually about young Racha from Trinidad. What's going to happen to him now? Because some of these guys, they're not in their respective senior setups yet. Now, Trinidad, in fairness, in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm kind of setting up my guest, because we're here to talk West Indies women's cricket, but we just have to talk the cricket in general. Trinidad and Tobago actually have an under-23s competition, but that isn't mirrored everywhere in the region. So maybe someone like Aracha gets in. And actually, I was researching that under-23s competition. I think this year or last year when it happened, they put an under-19s team in that under-23s competition. So kudos to Trinidad. At least they're trying something to bridge that gap between under-19 level and what we kind of call the senior level. But I'm just not convinced that club cricket alone can help these young, and we should include the women in this, the young ladies as well. We've just seen West Indies women's T20 squad has just been announced, right? Ebony Brathwaite has got in there, which is great to see. Ebony Brathwaite, in fact, I think we spoke about her in the last episode, funny enough. Ebony Brathwaite, all-round talented athlete like we have them 10 a penny in the Caribbean. It's not uncommon. So Ebony, for those who don't know, medalled in the Carifta Games at, I want to say under 17 level. Can't remember the sport. Javelin? Anyway, she medalled. It was a field event. She medalled in that. Obviously, she's just played in the T20 Blaze and was one of the harder hitting opening bats in the T20 Blaze. And she's been rewarded for that. I think Shane Dietz is very clear about he likes players who show intent. And Brathwaite certainly showed that in the T20 Blaze, right? And I'm hoping that someone like Brathwaite benefits from the fact that she's got a Shakira Selman in the system. She's got a Hayley when she's around. She's got a Deandra who, like Ebony Brathwaite, was an athlete before first becoming into the West Indies women's setup. So it's good that we've promoted the likes of Brathwaite. But let's say we hadn't. What was the plan for Ebony Brathwaite if she hadn't already, if Shane and his coaching staff hadn't spotted her already at 17, 18, however old she is, and now bring her into the fold? What would the plan be then? So listen, this is why Gerard and we might have to make this a regular episode where we dive into some deeper questions. But listen, people, go. That article that I'm talking about is over on Caribbean Cricket News. You can see it in the descriptor below if you want to go and read it. Obviously, update articles on there about looking back at the matches in the World Cup as well. So that's that. Gerard Basso is back. Let me bring him on shortly. We're going to talk the ODI series. West Indies women fell in that ODI series 2-1, but it was tight, people. It was a tight series. Every single match. In fact, the one we won was the one that wasn't the closest. The two we lost were close. And then the one we won, we kind of won that a bit of a canter, to tell you the truth. But just to give you the context, because sometimes I'm wary on these episodes that people rush to comment before they take in what we're saying. So just to give a context before Gerard and I get into it, when West Indies women toured Sri Lanka in 2024, 2 years ago, it was about 18 months ago, we played 3 ODIs and 3 T20s, but we played 3 ODIs against Sri Lanka women 18 months ago, and we lost all 3. And let me just read the results out to everyone to give you a bit of context before we dive into this series. We lost the first ODI by 6 wickets. Sri Lanka chased 196 to win with 95 balls remaining. We lost the second ODI by 5 wickets. Sri Lanka bowled us down for 92 and chased down what they needed with 172 balls remaining. And then the third ODI, Sri Lanka women won by 160 runs. Now, the reason I give you that context is they comprehensively, Hayley was ill on that tour, by the way, but they comprehensively beat us in all 3 matches in the ODIs in Sri Lanka. And this series is part of ODI World Cup qualification for the 2029 Women's World Cup. I might have the year wrong there. When was the World Cup? 2029? Yeah, 2029. Must be 2029. So this is part of the cycle to qualify for the next ODI World Cup. Now, of course, if you pay attention to women's cricket, we didn't qualify for the World Cup we just had. We lost in the World Cup qualifiers, didn't make it through. So we want to try and get through automatically. So as much as we've lost 2-1, please do not sleep on the 1, because that does equal World Cup qualification points. And if you put it in the context of the fact that last time we played Sri Lanka, they took all the points, there's an element of this series where you go, well, it's an improvement. How you scale that improvement, that's another question altogether. In the context of the 2 matches we lost, how you see that as an improvement, or should it have been 2-1 to us, 3-0, whatever it might be. I'm still seething about Deandra's dismissal in that second one. But let's get into it. Let's chop it up. Let's get into it. I've given the intro. Let's bring Gerard on and let's get through the key talking points of this ODI series, people. Welcome back to Gerard Basso. Gerard, how you doing?
Hey, my friend, how are you doing? I'm good. Still bright and early down in the Caribbean. It's now, the sun is now coming up, and I hope that's sun coming up on the women's game going into a new format. I mean, you've given quite an introduction, and you touched on, I think you've taken a lot of my ideas and you've put it on the table, because you started with that under 19. And I was telling myself, I said, but I hope he doesn't call out the under 19 girls that we spoke about the last time. Leave it for when we start, you know. But I think you hit the nail on the head, and we chatted about that the last time. Talent is never the problem here in the Caribbean. They're a dime a dozen. And you mentioned a lot of these young boys, the Adian Ratcher, the Shaquan Bell, the Vital Laws on the boys' side. On the girls' side, it's not any different. They're a dime a dozen. And one of the things I like that you mentioned, a couple of these girls being 2-sport athletes. And Ebony is not the only one. But we'll get into that, because that's the T20 series. As you said, the ODI series, I don't know if I would describe it as that last one winning in a canter with only 4 overs to spare to chase down a measly target to somebody, as we would say in the Caribbean, 2 on a penny, 2 on a shilling, you know, and we took so long to chase it down, and that was only because of Hayley. Take away Hayley's 100. Where are we?
Well, good. Let's start there then, because that ultimately is the leading narrative. I've written down certain points I want us to cover, and that was point number 1. Let's start with the big point. Are we still, and I be careful, Gerard. Oh no, in fact, don't be careful. Say what you need to say. Are we still at a point where if Hayley doesn't fire, it's unlikely we win a match? Now, Hayley scored an even 100 in that win. Let me just find my scorecard again. She scored an even 100 in that win, and she was the best bowler. She took 2 for 33 in her 10 overs in the match itself. There were people that contributed with the bat, the Glasgows, and it was good to see like my heart warmed to see Stefanie Taylor hit a 50 in I think in the first ODI. She was a steady contributor through the series. We can get onto some of the others who did not really contribute, but are we still a team where, boy, Hayley's got to go big or we're not going to win?
One of the things that came to my mind looking at this series, and I'll take you back to our last episode. Remember, as we were going off air, I told you, and I told the audience, look out on the Sri Lanka side. There's an opener. There's a young lady who played here for TKR who injured her hand in the last CPL. Harshita. I couldn't remember the middle order batters, Vishmi and Dilari. I told you, look out for the young ones from Sri Lanka. Chamari Atapattu did nothing other than captain this team.
Yeah, she didn't really contribute, you know.
However, Sri Lanka has an identity, especially from a batting perspective. West Indies, we don't. Remember, we also mentioned when we were going off, you mentioned Zeda, right, from the West Indies perspective, and you were always concerned, what is Zeda's role in the West Indies senior team? We know what's her role for the Windward Islands. She's either the skipper or the main all-rounder alongside Glasgow for Windward Islands. But at senior level, what is Zeda's role? And remember, I told you, all these young girls, Sri Lanka women's team are the Women's Asia Cup champions for a reason. All these young girls will take a bullet. And I say it again, they will take a bullet for Chamari Atapattu. They look up to her. They idolize her, but it goes further than that. These young girls don't just idolize her like how our West Indian girls idolize Hayley and idolize Deandra. They want to perform for Chamari. They want to show Chamari that they belong, that they are taking her teachings and putting it into effect, so to speak, on the field. And that's part of the Sri Lankan identity. So should Sri Lanka not have Chamari, God forbid, today, they're still going to be competitive. Let's bring it to the West Indies side. Yes, we can pick out the Glasgow. We can pick out Stefanie Taylor. Well, I would not. I have stopped counting Stefanie Taylor a long time ago. I told you that. I tell everybody, Stefanie Taylor can make duck from now until she retires. It doesn't matter to me. She's done what she has to do. She has given more than human service. She is more than a legend of the game. She's done what she has to do. She's a World Cup winner. She's second only to Matali Raj in every statistical bracket. She's more than a legend. And I don't count Stefanie Taylor. But outside of Janila, who else are we counting?
Well, this is the thing.
Who else are we counting?
But before we go into...
So that answers your question. Yes, we're still too dependent on Hayley.
Okay, so let me further the question. On paper, this was the strongest batting lineup. On paper, this was the strongest batting lineup I've seen for the West Indies in a while. And for the record, I think they'll be better in the T20 series, by the way. But on paper, I looked at the top 6, 7, and I said, hold on. This before the series started. I said, hold on. We might be able to do something here. Like, there's enough people in there where I'm like, well, if that one fails, that one can come through, or that one can come through. I will be honest with you. I did not expect what I saw in the first. That doesn't mean I expect us to win, but I did not expect what I saw in the first 2 ODIs, where the top 6 basically, Stefanie aside, where the top 6 basically didn't perform.
Well,
and I thought, look what you're doing to Janila Glasgow, asking her to perform miracles. And don't get me wrong, we should praise Janila Glasgow, by the way. Real maturity shown.
She's come of age.
But how we putting Janila Glasgow as one of the least experienced in that squad and saying, come save this game for us, when you've got a top 6 wrapped with experience.
That's almost the same situation that has happened with Zeda James. When you look at Zeda through regional cricket, Zeta bats at the top of the order. Now, because of seniority, in the senior team, you put her to bat 8 and 9, asking her to save a game. That does not do anything for a young player's confidence. Now, I agree with you. On paper, our team was stronger probably than Sri Lanka, yes. However, I want to take you back again, our previous episode, when you had me here, I mentioned to you that one of my concerns going into this series, our players, our three main players, again, I'm not counting Stephanie Taylor. Our three main players are Hayley Matthews, Deandra Dottin, and now Chanel Henry, who has come of age in the last 18 months. Because prior to that 18 months, Chanel Henry was not performing and doing anything close to what she's doing now. Now, when you look at the West Indies schedule over the last 12 months, majority of these girls are coming in and these ladies are coming into this series without any high-level cricket, including Hayley, Deandra, and Chin. Now, Chin is the exception because Chin played every game in the WPL for her franchise. I think saving apart one, where she did pick up a little bit of an injury, fielding in the outfield, right? I have to double check. But Hayley was coming back off of not an injury, a surgery.
Yes.
Deandra was coming back off of injury. And the remainder of the women in the team, they only played 2 weeks of cricket, along with a 2-month camp. And it's only so much you can do in a camp. There's only so much you can do. And you brought it up as well, Mash, that you know, we don't have that high-level cricket. And my default is always, I go back to a person like Phoebe Litchfield for Australia. Phoebe Litchfield has been scoring runs for fun for about 4 to 5 years at WNCL level. And for the ones, the audience who don't follow women's cricket, WNCL is the highest level of domestic women's cricket in Australia. And Phoebe Litchfield scores runs for fun at WNCL level. But the WNCL season is not 2 weeks. It's more like 2 months, sometimes 3, depending on how Australia's international schedule falls. So I go back and I bring all that, and you see, like you did, putting everything into context with the last Sri Lanka series we had, that was away. These are things that we need to keep in mind as West Indians. You brought up the fact about points for the World Cup. And I was talking to someone and I was telling them, I'm so disappointed that they dropped Shanisha for the last ODI and brought in Ashmini. Why not drop somebody like Chin, who could use the rest? Because traveling to India and back is not easy. And we know what Chin is going to give you. Give Chin a rest. The series is already lost. You're probably not going to bowl Shanisha that long anyway, because she only bowled seven overs, 4 by 3. But blood the young talent in. And the person told me, boy, this is always the catch. And you mentioned it. How do we blood young talent in? You started off with the under-19s. And I told them, I said, this is the tricky thing about West Indies cricket. They are OJTs, as we call them in Trinidad and Tobago. You're learning on the job trainees, you know, and that's a difficult thing. You're fighting for points. But my philosophy is this. An arrow is only effective if you pull it back. And to a great extent, West Indies women's cricket is already back. So let's now blood the young talent early, because you mentioned we have just about 3 years. We have enough time, I believe, to make up, blood these young talent in, and then shoot off towards the back end of qualification to get in automatically. Because God forbid something happens to Hayley, Deandra, or Chin, where does that leave us in qualification? And the person told me, boy, it's tricky, you know, you can't bring any young ones because you're still fighting for points. Remember, you need the points. But again, we're still too dependent on Hayley Matthews, everything centers around Hayley Matthews. And I think now this is going into some of the off the field things that you mentioned. You know, what are we doing? Because I can tell you, yes, in Trinidad, you mentioned Racha and these guys. Racha is around the senior team for the men.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
He is. And he's been around the senior team for a while. He and another young fast bowler named Fareed Ali, right? Fareez Ali is around the senior team. They're around the senior team, right? There's a young guy. His name is now escaping me. Short guy, both some spin, right? He's also been earmarked as another one. I think he was on the reserve team for the under-19s, right? So we have that in Trinidad, both for men and women. We have, we see one of the top clubs in Trinidad, Machel and Patriots, where Evan Lewis plays, who scored a century, by the way, last week. I'm not going to go into that. with Nicholas Puran playing for Clark Road. We're not going to go into that. But Machel now has a women's team. So we're seeing progress. I have there somewhere on my phone, the Guyana, their schedule for the entire year for the Guyana Cricket Board. And they have a number of women's tournaments, under 23, under 19, under 15s, right? Women's side. Barbados has their structure, of which Shakira Selman is the lifeblood of, right? But the rest of the territories, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place with it, but you see, we have to bring in all these things to contextualize the performances that we did see. And all these things are the elements that, as we say in the Caribbean, these are all the ingredients that go into the pot to make the pilau, to make the one pot. And it's difficult. I mean, I'm glad to see what I saw from Janila Glasgow. I would have asked a lot more. Some of the performances didn't surprise me. So I'm going to go back to that, your point. The performances didn't surprise me. I didn't expect anything more from Charmaine Campbell.
Right, pause, because that's where I'm going next. So you must have seen where I was going next, right? Some players got all the games, right? And whilst you were talking, I was on my phone because I was like, let me just go back and remind myself if such and such player was in the ODI squad, right? Because I didn't see them feature. And I was like, no, were they actually in that ODI squad or not? So I'm going to bring some names up soon. You were in the last episode, you were quite critical of Charmaine Campbell, as is your right. And I think I agreed, to be fair. And but I want to raise two people because I just want to know what we're saying here. And this, I know in West, and I want people to understand that this isn't the standard West Indian thing where West Indies lose and then you just pick someone to scapegoat and cuss. Oh. That's not really what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to have an honest critique. We had young Chanel Sal in the squad. You have the wicket keeper who's not really scoring runs. Now, good. Okay, Ashmini Munasar got a game. Good. I got no real issue with that. She got a game, right? I'll be honest, I actually thought Sal would get a game in the third one because I was like, well, the wicketkeeper ain't really scoring. The senior wicketkeeper ain't really scoring runs here. We might as well let the youngster have a goal here. What we got to lose here? So that I found that a bit perplexing, right? And then the other person who I'm trying to get my head round, and I don't know yet if I'm being too harsh or I'm not even certain, Gerard, what my stance is here yet. Kiana Joseph frustrates me. She frustrates me. When it comes off, it's brilliant. But 18 months into her rebranding in this role that she has at the top of the order, should we be demanding more maturity and consistency from her? Or do we just say, boy, she's got license to play the way she plays and it just is what it is? Talk to me.
Let me take Chanel first. Because we did speak a bit at length about Chanel Sal in the last episode. And I told you, I believe from seeing Chanel from school cricket come up here in Trinidad, that Chanel has fallen off a bit. And I know injury has been part to play with that. Chanel is one of those that she needs to mature, and she'll take the time to mature. Chanel is only 21 years old, 21 years young. You want to look at it that way. And I did mention she has the benefit of being in its senior team, having Shane Dorich in the setup now. And just yesterday or the day before, I realized that Junior Murray is also around the setup. So she now has the benefit of two international level wicketkeepers, all right, being in the setup that she can actually, along with the fact that she already gets mentorship in Trinidad from another world-class wicketkeeper in Marissa Aguilera. So Chanel has the resources to draw upon. It was my belief, knowing what you would have gotten from Charmaine Campbell, because, and this is not a knock on Charmaine Campbell, Minnie as she's called, her person or anything like that. She's given, I said it the last time, she's given yeoman service to West Indies cricket, and we applaud her and we appreciate it. But there are players that you see, they reach to a level and they cannot go any higher, no matter what they do. We have a number of players over the years who've played for West Indies at senior team level, but you know they're first-class players. They'll come and score 1,000 runs in first-class season at international level. They can't get past 20 at no time. It's just, I don't know what it is, whether it's the training regime, the diet or whatever. So I would have expected the first game to give Chanel a go. Give her a go, because you already know what you're going to get from Charmaine, right? And mind you, that 30 runs you're going to get from Charmaine with your eyes closed might actually be the 30 runs we need to win a game. So you already know what you're going to get. And again, it's not a knock on Charmaine as a person, right? She's a fun person to be around, you know. When you get around her, she talks so much banter when she gets to know you and she's comfortable around people. She doesn't talk much on the field, but when she's around people, she knows it's a lot of banter, you know. So Chanel was one that I thought they could have given a go in the first one. And then, yes, as you said, when the series was already gone, because I would have rather lost those first two with Chanel in the team, not scoring runs, but you're giving her that look in to international cricket. Kiana, like yourself, I'm frustrated with Kiana. Kiana came into this team as a bowler.
Yes, which often people have now forgotten.
She came into the, so first thing first, I was glad to see Haley go to her as a bowler.
Yes,
I was glad to see it. Now that creates another problem for Haley Matthews. I don't know yet if it's a good problem or a bad problem, but Haley has too many bowling options. So slightly on the bowling side, we don't have an identity batting. We kind of don't have a bowling identity either. And that's because Haley has too many options, which on another day, that's actually a good problem to have. You know, but Kiana, one of the questions I have about Kiana Joseph is something that I've heard Ian Bishop talk about a lot on commentary over the years. And I'll bring up a name for you, O'Shane Thomas.
Yes.
People probably forgot about O'Shane. And this was one of the questions Ian Bishop had raised with O'Shane in O'Shane's embryonic phase in his career. What is his accountability structure? O'Shane can only be around Curtly Ambrose and the other coaches in the franchise system for that long. What is O'Shane doing off the field? Who's his dad? Who's his uncle? Who's his granddad that is holding him accountable to a regime off the field? And this is the same question I have about Kiana, because I look at Kiana move around in the field as well, and I'm like, Kiana, it has nothing to do with your size. Because if you remember Rakim Cornwall, Rakim was always big. Jimbo was always big. And in the early part of Jimbo's career, Jimbo was diving around. Jimbo was chasing balls.
Yeah.
And he was big.
Yeah.
I did a regional game where Rakim Cornwall took a return catch. I'm working the camera. And this is a full-blooded straight drive that I'm preparing my camera to follow the ball to the side screen from behind the batter. And lo and behold, the ball is in Rakim Cornwall's hand because Rakim dived. And this is in Warner Park in regional cricket. So it has nothing to do with size. So my question about Kiana is, what is her range? And this now brings to the fore questions about what were they doing in that camp in Antigua. What is her diet regime? What is her work ethic regime in the nets? What is she practicing? Because she's playing one way, right? And again, forgive me for using Phoebe Litchfield as the example. Everybody loves to watch Phoebe Litchfield, and they look at all these funky shots, as Carlos Brathwaite would call it, these funky shots that Phoebe plays. Phoebe has a hockey background first to begin with, but there's a clip on Australia social media, the cricket board social media and so on. Herself and Sam Constas, right? And she's going through with Sam what she does in the nets. And she says she practices all the technical things first. The funky shots, that's like the last 15, 20 minutes of practice. But she's in the nets and she practices more than 100 balls. Is Kiana doing this? That's why Phoebe Litchfield is that good. That's why Phoebe Litchfield can walk into the hardest team to make in the world. The hardest team to make in the world. Australia has probably about 3 first 11 teams because it's that hard. They've now lost their captain to retirement, Alisa Healy. But there's still no space for anybody else because Georgia Vole falls in. So again, these girls like Georgia Vole, Phoebe Litchfield, they're working hard on their game outside of the field. Same thing.
So let us
Kiana,
sorry.
We need to ask more of her. That's the accountability thing. It's Shane Dietz, Shane Dorridge, the management team asking that of Kiana. You need to hold her to a higher standard about Shemaine Campbell. She's going to be that type of player. And again, as you said, this is not a knock on anybody personally of the players.
Just gonna pause there, people, and I think Gerard's having a few issues with his connection. We'll wait for him to come back in. He'll yeah. So Gerard's just having a few issues with his connections, people. I'm fairly certain that for people who are watching this rather than listening to this, you'll see that there's a few sync issues. I'll wait to see for Gerard to message me. There's a few sync issues going on for Gerard, but hopefully you're taking in the gems of the audio, even if the visuals are out of sync with it. When Gerard does return, I'm just waiting for him to message me. Here he is. He's in the background again. So Gerard's given you their kind of in-depth feedback on Shemaine, Kiana. We've spoken Hayley, the top 6, Kiana, Shemaine, Chanel Sal. Is there any more points I want us to cover on the ODI team before I just pivot to look ahead to the T20 series? Actually, let me. Should I? Yeah, let me pivot to the T20 series, but making a link via the ODI series. So, Gerard, you're back on.
Yeah.
So, somebody else who was in the ODI squad who didn't get a game, which I have mixed feelings about, and one of the reasons why I've got mixed feelings is because sometimes, to be fair, I think it is acceptable to have somebody part of your squad and to be with the team earlier with a view to the second series that is coming up, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of 50-50 on, you don't have to play everyone. If you believe somebody's skill set is better focused to another format, there is nothing wrong with having them in and around the camp for the other format as the reserve backup player and not playing them. So you probably understand where I'm going with this. Me personally, I would have liked to see Jazara Claxton play an ODI game. That's me personally, because I do think that, and actually she's another one. She's another dual sport athlete. I had Jazara Claxton on the show recently, and we spoke about the fact that she could easily have played football internationally. If she wanted to, she admitted it herself. She could have got a scholarship to go to the United States and played football in US college. Instead, we're lucky to have her as a senior women's cricketer. Now, me personally, I would have liked to see Claxton have a bowl. It was good to see Shawnisa Hector get her debut. I would have liked to see Claxton get a game in the ODIs as well. But I understand, and let's pivot, the Deets and the backroom staff have to look towards the T20 World Cup. That's the biggest thing of the, well, you could say the Aussies turning up is the biggest thing, but the T20 World Cup is the biggest thing of the year. The draw is now out. I think we've got England, New Zealand, Scotland, Ireland, and I want to say Sri Lanka in our group. That's the fact we have Sri Lanka in our group puts an even extra bit of added sway to what we have to learn from this upcoming T20 series. I think T20 is easily our best format. It's, as much as I was critical somewhat of our top six in the ODIs, I look at our top six in the shortest format and think, actually, you lot could do some serious damage in the shortest format. And if everyone is fit, I'm not saying we're Australia strong. No, on our day, you never know, but we're up there. On our day, we are up there as a T20 side if everything clicks all at the same time, right? So let's just look at the T20 squad, Gerard. I'll just quickly read it out to those who don't know. Hayley Matthews, captain. Aaliyah Elaine, Ebony Brathwaite, Shemaine Campbell, Jazara Claxton, Deandra Dottin, Affy Fletcher, Janilla Glasgow, Shanisha Hector, Chanel Henry, Zayda James, Kiana Joseph, Mandy Mangru, Karishma Ramarak, and Stefani Taylor. So the three who come in, Ebony Brathwaite, I spoke about at the top of the show. The young Bayesian dual athlete comes in after her showings in the T20 Blaze at the top of the order for Barbados. Zayda James is back in. And Mandy Mangru is in, I assume, as the support wicketkeeper. Possibly she might even play instead of Shemaine Campbell, for all I know. So those are the three who come into the squad. We can assume, Gerard, that Zayda will play. I think her role in the T20 squad is kind of like an Akil Hussain type role. I think. I say because who knows? I think that's
because I laugh because our last episode I brought it up that for me that's the role I want to see her have, and for a great time that's not the role they were using Zayda in until very recently. I can't remember what our last T20 series was internationally, but they started to do that. They started to use Zayda in the power play, and that suggested to me, oh, finally, you all are seeing what I had seen in Zayda from under 19 level. And funny enough, I mentioned Zayda's name to Akil one time with chatting, and I'm like, yo, dude, whenever you get a chance, chat with this young lady. Let her get some of your mindset. You're the number one bowler in the world. I wouldn't tell you what the response was, but I'm just saying, though, that's what I saw in Zayda from a bowling perspective. Now, just to tie in the T20, the T20 to the ODI, you call the name, the second name on that T20 list, outside of Kiana Joseph from the ODIs, Aaliyah is somebody I wanted to see more of in that ODI series. Not with the ball, and I'm glad that I'm seeing the improvement I needed to see with the ball from Aaliyah, because for far too long, Aaliyah Allen has struggled with her bowling action. And a lot of people don't pick it up because you're not looking for it. You just see the wides, you see the stray balls, but people don't pick up on it for far too long. And even in the WCPL, I picked up on it and I messaged Shakira Selman. I'm like, why is Aaliyah Allen stuttering through her run-up? Why is she not bowling through the crease? And I'm talking about 2025 WCPL. 2024 WCPL final. Mash, I was in the Brian Lara Academy. I was in the party stand. If you know the academy, the party stand is direct square on. That WCPL final in 2024 is the fastest I ever saw Aliyah Allen bowl. Aliyah Allen, for me, is the Alzari Joseph of the women's team. That is how fast Aliyah can bowl. She can clock, or if she gets her run up and her action right, she can clock like Shabnam Ishmael. She can clock faster than Izzy Wong. I am telling you. Because sitting square on in the academy, I didn't see the ball. That's how fast she was bowling. And she's somebody I wanted to see a lot more. I'm glad I'm seeing the comfort now in Aliyah's bowling action. I know she's worked a lot on it. I know Roddy Eswick has had a little play in that as well, giving her some advice and some other people that she's worked with to get that run up right. When Aliyah is on song and in rhythm, she's going to be a tearaway quick bowler once she stays fit. I wanted to see a little bit more of her with the bat. As you said, though, in the T20s, I think it's a comfort level, isn't it? It's a comfort level with our players that we're just comfortable because I guess maybe the power that you can kind of get away.
Yeah.
If you're playing Test cricket, you're going to see it. Oh, he whooping boy, she whooping boy. In the T20 game, they're just trying to power the ball for 6.
Yeah.
Short. You know, so I say all that to bring it to those 3 players you identified, the 3 young ones coming in, Ebony, Zeda, and Mandy. And we spoke about Mandy in the last episode as well. Mandy was not a wicketkeeper, but they blooded her into being a wicketkeeper, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm glad to see the improvement Mandy made with the gloves. She has wonderful hands. And I guess the stature kind of lends itself to it as well. You know, shorter wicketkeepers tend to be that much more agile and that much more flexible and good with their hands and their hand-eye coordination. And her batting started to come along. I'm not sure if they're going to play her. I'm not sure if they're going to play Jazara Claxton. But I think I would have liked to see Jazara give them a go in the ODI as well. There were a number of young ones that I mentioned to you that even if you were not playing them in the ODIs, I would have liked to see them around the team. One of the names that I wanted to see in and around this team, even if you're not putting her on the squad fully, or you're not putting her in the 11, is Nijani Komabach. Because Nijani's growth as a bowler is exponential. It's exponential. She's grown really quickly. I'm not sure if we can read too much. I think when we look at that squad, though, for the T20s, it says to you, plain out, listen, this is us preparing for the T20 World Cup.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it says. We're preparing for the T20 World Cup. Because you could have easily said, okay, we're going to rest at Chanel Henry because we know what we're going to get from Chin. And I keep saying it. And we could have rested her. Now, mind you, she may not play any of the T20s. They might have her on the squad, but don't play her in the 11. We could have rested Stephanie Taylor because we're going to England with Stephanie Taylor. Let's protect her. Let's protect her because we saw her. She kind of ran some runs in that ODI series where
and nearly paid the price for it.
She's protecting her hamstring.
Yep.
She's protecting. So the squad says to you, listen, we're going into this series with the World Cup in mind. Now, my thing is, and this was my question in the ODI series about somebody like a Shonisha Hector. We are very spin dependent. Hayley Matthews is going to get away with it because she's world class.
Yeah.
You live in England, Mash. Our young spinners, Karishma Ramharak, has to be very careful. She's becoming a one-dimensional bowler.
Boy, so Gerard, stop right there. So, in my notes before we started, I wrote down, is there a question mark over Karishma? Then I crossed it out because I thought, no, because everyone's going to say in the comments, how can you say that? She was the top wicket taker. And I crossed it out because I was like, people are going to think I'm a dunce. But
I can easily put Samara Ramnath ahead of Karishma.
Right. So what is it? You tell me with your analytical eye on, because there's something about Karishma, and I can't work it out. Where sometimes I watch her and I'm like, yeah, but are you? Boy, I don't want people to come for me, you know. There's sometimes I watch her and I'm like, are you as good as you should be, though? That's the question that keeps running through my head. Why am I thinking this?
And that's why I said she's becoming a one-dimensional bowler. At the international level, in different conditions outside of the Caribbean or the subcontinent, batters are going to start picking Karishma. I'll carry you back 2 years ago when we played South Africa in South Africa.
Yeah.
Was it Charles Langeveld, boy? I can't remember who was on commentary when we played Laura Wolverhampton. And the moment Karishma came on to bowl, the very first comment came out of the commentator's mouth. My gosh, I'm looking at Sunil Narine. And I laughed. Because, yes, Sunil has gone through a whole lot of work at his action. If you go back to Sunil Narine when he first came out, Karishma's bowling action, her run-up, her approach, yes, she might tell you she patterns after Haley, but Sunil, you said that was exactly Sunil. And my thing is that Karishma almost, and forgive us for making the comparisons. Remember, women's cricket is now becoming a thing. Women's sport is now becoming a thing. So our reference points are always going to be the male, right? And forgive us for that, because I don't like to do that. I rather match her up with somebody else in the female game. But Sunil is a premier bowler, probably the best spinner in the world in the format, given that he's still playing cricket, right? But Karishma was almost like a female version of Sunil. The problem is Sunil has redesigned, reformed, reshaped, all the re's you could think about.
Yeah.
And Sunil is still unplayable because you don't know what he's going to do. I have not seen that yet from Karishma. I have not seen her, like with Samara. Last year, I'm doing under 19 cricket and I see Samara bowl a leg break. I'm like, Samara, why are you bowling leg break? And then, when I chatted with her and, she said, listen, I'm working on different things, because she realizes at 19 years old that, hey, I got to be unpredictable. Batters are going to work me out. I need to keep evolving my game. And this is the same thing we were just talking about with Kiana Joseph. What are you doing off the field? And I'm wondering, is Karishma working on those different things? Gudakesh, I saw him do it at regional level last year. I'm like, yo, why are you doing this, my boy? But I'm glad he did, because it shows that he's thinking ahead. And that's what we need to ask of our players. Karishma is another one that I want to see more of. She's going to get away with it in the Caribbean. I don't think she's going to be as effective in England.
Yes,
and this is why I wanted to see Shanisha Hector more than anybody else, and Aliyah Allen bowl a lot more in that ODI series.
So we pivot then to my final point. I'm going to mix it all together in one melting pot, because we're going to come back and look at, in the same way how we've looked at the ODI series in depth, we'll come back and look at the T20 series in depth. So this is my final point. As you were talking, I wrote down a starting 11. Just a random starting 11 for the T20 side, and then I realized the 11 can't work, because I wrote it and then realized after I'd written it that Shemaine Campbell's not in there. Then I realized Mandy Mangrew's not in there.
Oh,
right. And then I realized, oh, sugar, I've got to get a wicket keeper in there somewhere, right? So I'm gonna read you my team out, and I'm going to ask you to answer two conundrums for me. One, who is the wicket keeper coming in for? Whoever your wicket keeper is, who are they coming in for? And then the second question, the team I've written down, I don't think succeeds in England bowling wise unless there's another seamer, because in England you need a seamer, right?
We already know what Shin is going to give us.
Right. So I'm looking at the team going, boy, have I put too many spinners in it? So two conundrums I want you to solve. Who's the wicket keeper coming in for to balance out the side? And two, how do I get another seamer in there knowing that West Indies love to play about 10 spinners in their team. So here's the side. Hayley, Kiana, Stefani, Chin, Dottin, Glasgow, Zayda, Elaine, Afi, Karishma, Claxton. To me, that's the best 11 players, but that's not a balanced team because I have no wicketkeeper in there. And also I'm looking at it going, boy, there's about 5 spinners in there. Do I really need 5 spinners in England? Talk to me.
Initially, based on from an experience perspective, I'm sorry, Jazara is the one I would drop, right? Okay. To bring in a wicketkeeper. And that's solely based on experience, right? Because I'm going into a World Cup to win. It's the same thing with the men's team. If Brandon King doesn't play tomorrow, who's going to get the nod? Quinton Sampson or Johnson Charles? Yeah. I'm going with Jono because of experience. Right? So Jazara gets the boot. Just as a side note, my philosophy is, and I told you this before, when I pick a team, my first pick is always the wicketkeeper. I don't care if my wicketkeeper can score runs or not. My wicketkeeper is my first pick. They can bat at 11. But Jazara, unfortunately, in that team that you just called out, is the one that would get dropped for a wicketkeeper solely based on experience. Because everybody else in that team, Kiana included, Zayda included, has more international experience than Jazara.
Okay, fine. Right? So that answers that.
The second question.
The second question then is if Jazara is out for wicketkeeper, which, and by the way, I have huge stocks in Jazara. I think there's super upside.
I love her too.
But I understand your argument. So then my second point then is if Jazara is out, that makes my second point even more pertinent. We're then too spin dependent, and we will be one. If that's how we go into the World Cup, that's good for, don't get me wrong, for the series versus Sri Lanka, I have no problem with that because we're in our own conditions.
Correct.
But when I saw the women's team out here last time they came here for the tour against England, when I was watching them, I was like, boy, we need a pacer. We need to find someone who can swing the ball, seam the ball, etc., right? If that's our team in the World Cup, we'll be one of the few top sides going in there without a real, genuine somebody we're trying to actually take some wickets with in terms of seam. Obviously, Dottin and Ching can do their thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we have a game or two in Manchester.
Yes.
You can imagine a good old English summer day where it's overcast in Manchester. And we're playing. It doesn't matter who we play. Ireland, Scotland, Zimbabwe women, a Thailand woman. We're going to get knocked around the park in a place like Manchester where you need a seamer. But to go to that second question, again, I'm not quite sure how to get the balance correct because you know your out and out pacer is a Leah Allen.
Yes.
You know your swing bowler is Chanel Henry. In that instance, then maybe Jazara needs to stay on the team because Jazara bowls.
Yeah, but they don't really use her, Gerard.
And that's the thing. And that's because, again, remember we started the episode, I mentioned Sri Lanka having a batting identity.
Yeah.
Okay, let's use the Australia team, right? Australia has an identity. When they're bowling, you already know that they have 2 leg spinners in Georgia Weeram and Alana King. Neither of them are going to bowl any power play unless Australia is under pressure. So you have to deal with 8 world-class overs of leg spin in the middle.
Yeah.
Australia already know, depending on which seamers they pick, because they have a cadre, you already know you have to face Annabelle Sutherland with the ball on a string in the power play. You already know that if Talia McGrath plays, you're going to have to face Talia McGrath when she's fit, if she's bowling. So they have an identity. They already know. India is the same thing. You already know that once Renuka Singh Thakur is in the team, you have to face that first over.
Yeah.
And then now they have blooded their young ones. You have Charney and all these young ones coming in that are possibly going to bowl. They have their identities. We don't. And going into that World Cup in England, I'm sorry, no spinner for our women's team, that is. Our men's team is different because Akil is a world apart, all right? I'm opening the bowling all the time with Chanel Henry and Aaliyah Allen. And I'm telling Aaliyah, bowl at 90 miles an hour for me. So having said that, do we need to have another seamer in? If that's the
well, no, we don't. If you're correct, then and they actually use Janilla, then no, we don't. But because I have not seen evidence that they have. I haven't seen enough evidence yet to suggest that they have faith in using Janilla as anything more than a boy. Nothing else ain't working.
So that team that you called out, the three seamers are Chin, Deandra, and Aaliyah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's enough. And if you play Jazara Claxton, you have the option of the extra seamer. But because Jazara bowls, I don't want to call it fast, she bowls medium pace by international standards, obviously. But again, you raised the point. Jazara doesn't really bowl in the senior team, though. She bowls when she's playing for the Leewards a lot, right? She actually opens the bowling for the Leeward Islands at times, especially at under 19 level, because she's the main player at under 19 level.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these are the questions. What's the identity? What's the role of players? And you raised it in our last episode. How are we blooding the young ones into international level? And I think we get caught up again, like the ODI series, because we need the points, we're chasing the win.
Yes.
And I keep saying, pull the arrow back in the bow, hold it, get a focus on the target, and then let it go. And by that, I mean, get the young ones in. They have to learn the hard way. They don't have the structure that Phoebe Litchfield had. They don't have the structure that a Charney in India had. They don't have the structure that even this young girl, Nancy, who's now starting out with New Zealand, Patel, I think is her last name, right? She had a lot of support and a lot of structures now going on in New Zealand. And some of these young ones, even for Pakistan. And I bring up all these other teams. There's a young lady, her name is now escaping me, made her debut for South Africa in their series, because there's a lot of cricket. You mentioned it, there's a lot of cricket. And we need to keep one eye on all these other teams. Pakistan just scored 340, chasing 360 against South Africa. South Africa, the finalists in the last World Cup, T20. And we have to keep an eye on these other teams because they're blooding their young ones in. Shabnam Ishmael is not going to be there. Marjan Kapp is being rested now for South Africa, but that's not bothering South Africa. They're blooding their young ones in.
Yeah.
Marjan has been arrested for their series against Pakistan now because she has a little, and you know that they're coming at you in the World Cup in June with Marjan fully fit because there's no more Shabnam Ishmael. But she's going to have support, whether it's Anaya Bonga Kaka or whoever. And I transition to these other teams to just show you exactly what you just mentioned in terms of that 11 you have there. These are the questions that we need to answer. And I think, for me, the conditions are going to speak a lot. England, in the summer, you know that. You're going to get some of these odd days, and you're going to need a seamer. You're going to get days where, okay, you're going to get away with the spinners and a spinner, a spin-heavy lineup. And it's almost, again, this series coming up here against Sri Lanka. What is our goal? Are we blooding young talent? Because Ebony Brathwaite doesn't get a game. Ebony Brathwaite bats at the top of the order. Are you telling me you're going to play her in front of Kiana? Maybe.
I am. And in at least one game I am. Why not?
And it was the same thing that we talked about in the last episode about Chanel Sao.
Yeah.
Blooding the young ones in. But as I told you, my first answer remains to your question. You asked me 2 questions about that 11 you wrote down. Jazara Claxton is the one that you dropped to bring in a wicketkeeper, whether it's Mandy, whether it's Chanel, whether it's Shemaine, right? And more than likely it's Shemaine because you're going, and that's part B of my answer, the experience factor. And that's because you're going after the win. You're not thinking, as all these other teams are doing now, you're not thinking blood your young ones in. You're thinking win now. Let's win now. Let's win this series against Sri Lanka convincingly now. Let Sri Lanka know, listen, when you meet us on June 20, whatever it is that I saw on the schedule, right, in England, we're not coming to play. You're sending a message to England, who's in our group. Listen, we beat you all the last time. We're coming and we're going to beat you all again in the World Cup. It's up to you all whether you all go through to the next round or not, but we're coming for you. And we're letting all the other teams know that, hey, we're coming for you because you're chasing the win and you're showing that, hey, as you said, Mash, T20 is our stronger suit, both men and women. T20 is our stronger suit. So I think your 11 is not bad. It may be spinner heavy, but I think maybe having 3 seamers because of the fact that Deandra is bowling again, and she can bowl once she stays fit. You have 3 seamers in your, that's 12 overs. You can probably get away with it because the other 8 overs, more than likely that other 8 overs is Hayley Matthews, Karishma Ramharak.
Yeah, good point.
And somebody, of course, Afi. And then if Zida is taking the ball because Zida is in the team.
Do you know what? And we're not going to discuss it. Let's leave it for the end of this series.
Yeah,
we're going to stop here. But what I will just say is you said something earlier in the show which hits home even more. Now you've just said what you said. Hayley is actually hindered by how many bowling options there are. And we'll discuss it after. Let's see how it plays out in this T20 series. I think we need to return to this point because I think there needs to be greater clarity for Hayley as to who do you actually use and who is just, boy, I need a golden arm right now because it ain't working right now. But when I look at this team, Hayley bowls, Kiana bowls, Stefani bowls, Chin bowls, Dottin bowls, Glasgow, the whole team bowls.
Shemaine Campbell, and it's almost like I told people about our men's team. When you look at the men's World Cup presently, West Indies is the only team that bats down to 17, you know. Because if you count the guys on the bench, they can bat.
Yeah.
If you count the guys who did not go to that World Cup, like Aki Mogis, who's coming off of injury, Amir Jangu, who could have easily been on that team, we bat. No other team bats down to 11.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem with the women. We have 11 bowlers. We have 11 all-rounders, if you will.
Yeah, it's literally 11 all-rounders.
And I'll tell you something, Don, as you said, we're not going to go into it. It's for after the series. Part of it, we're going to end up speaking a little bit about Hayley Matthews as a person. And Hayley, I saw a couple of things in the ODI series. I wasn't pleased with Hayley. Now, granted, it was only that one instant where the camera caught it. I don't know what happened before or after. But if that was something that, you know, she was doing, I'm not pleased about it. But Hayley's personality is, I want to lead from the front.
Yes.
She's a warrior. She's like, you remember the Spartan movie? She's that one out of the line. She's the first one out.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. If you remember when we beat Australia in Australia, chasing down 200, that was Hayley saying, listen, to hell with everybody else.
Yeah.
I doing this. And she beat Australia, a full-strength Australia team, all on her own. So no, we're gonna end up talking about Hayley's personality, and it's going to be a lot to dissect. But these are questions that we'll always be raising about West Indies cricket because we need to have structure off the field. We also need to have structure in the team. We need to start finding our identity. What is our identity as a team? You know, but I think we should, if you're telling me we're focusing, we have some time before the next World Cup, go into the series with the strongest team, the most experienced. Let's just beat Sri Lanka. send a message to the rest of the world. Pick your best, most experienced 14 or 15 to go to England with the reserves and send a message to the world that we're coming for the title. We're not just coming to compete. We're not just coming to make up numbers. We're not just coming to, see how it goes. We're coming to get the title. Listen,
no better word said. People, we shall be back. The T20 series, just to give you the dates. First game at the time, if you're watching this at the time of recording, there's a game. So you'll definitely be watching this before the first game starts. Starts 1 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time today, Saturday. Another game tomorrow, which should start pretty much after the India game for the senior men has finished. And then the final T20 is on Tuesday. Again, all of them 1 o'clock starts Eastern Caribbean time. So Gerard and I will be back either on Monday to look at the first two, depending on what happened with the senior men's, or sometime after the Tuesday to look at all three. So we'll lock in. Gerard, thank you for giving up your time as ever. Definitely. People, you know where to go. Last time, people, I forgot to put Gerard's links in the descriptor below, so I'll do that for this video. So in the descriptor below, I'll put the links of where you can find Gerard, certainly on X. You can go connect with him and go chop it up. But thank you so much for giving up your time, Gerard. And obviously, you and I will be back very, very shortly to talk some more.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'll close with this though. You mentioned it through the episode. Sometimes it seems in West Indies cricket that we're just always bashing, and we take the negative. And I mentioned it in the episode that a lot of the territorial boards have a lot of things going on for young women. So I still want to give, in all of the off the field mess, I still want to give kudos and some credit, to Cricket West Indies and each of the territorial boards, that things are happening that a lot of people are not seeing. And I think we're not seeing it because the results are not showing on the field. It's not tangible. But each of the territories, as I mentioned, Guyana has things coming up this year. Trinidad and Tobago, we always have things going on here. Barbados has their structure, all right, for a long time now. I know Jamaica as well has started to put things in place for the young ladies, all right. And now that they're getting back a CPL team, it should help because there's going to be some funding coming into the system. But my thing is, I compliment them, and there are a lot of things going on. It's just about how do we tie all of this in together now? And that's the next step. Tie all of these little pockets in together and then make it what it should be. A structured system that now feeds West Indies cricket for the Under-19 World Cup next year for women, the T20 World Cup, not this one, a couple years from now, and then as you mentioned, the ODI World Cup a couple years from now, and then of course with the Australia series coming up, red ball cricket for the ladies.
People, you know where to find us.
Thank you, Mash, for having me. It's always a pleasure. And I look forward to chopping it up next week again. Please, God.
Of course.
We'll probably be talking as champions.
Well, I'm not going that far.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
No problem. People, lock in today. West Indies women versus Sri Lanka women, first of the T20s. And get in the comments below. Let us know what you think. If you want to be part of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast Discord, where we talk all things West Indies cricket offline in the community, become a patron as well. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you to you lot for listening, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.